How's it going, everybody? Excuse me. Haven't talked in a long time, so there you go. Clear your throat. So then they took him and led him and brought him into the high priest's house, and Peter followed afar off. And when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the hall and were set down together, Peter sat down among them. But certain maid beheld him as he sat by the fire and earnestly looked upon him and said, "This man is also with him." And he denied him, saying, "Woman, I know him not." Now, this all harkens back to the rich young ruler who God or who Jesus loved. And people will say, well, the rich young ruler had many possessions, so he wasn't a sheep. Yes, he was, because Jesus agape'd him, gave him love. And not affection type love, but it's a long story. But that's how you know the rich young ruler was actually a sheep, because Peter's doing worse. He's denying Jesus. The rich young ruler did not deny Jesus, called him Lord, just said, "What must I do?" And anyway, you get the idea. And he denied him, saying, "Woman, I know him not." And after a while, another saw him and said, "Thou art also of them." And Peter said, "Man, I am not." About the space of 1 hour, after another confidently affirmed, saying, "Of a truth, this fellow also was with him, for he is a Galilean." And Peter said, "Man, I know not what thou sayest." And immediately while he spake, the cock crew. Of course, Jesus said the cock would crow 3 times. And the Lord turned and looked upon Peter. And Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he said unto him, "Before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice." And Peter went out and wept bitterly. And the men that held Jesus mocked him and smote him. And when they had blindfolded him, they struck him on the face and asked him, saying, "Prophesy, who is it that smote thee?" Moving on to Revelations 12. And we finish up Revelations 12. Tomorrow we will start 13, the big Antichrist chapter. "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood, and the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So there's a lot to unpack here. There's so much going on, because first it's talking about Mary bringing in Jesus, and the woman turns into the church. For we are the bride of Christ, of course. And we know that the Lord, this is when, let me just start over here. I wonder if while the Great Tribulation is taking place, that the Lord does not protect the bloodline, or just protect 144,000 that should not be killed during the Great Tribulation, which is a very short time. Remember, Jesus said, I cut those days short. So anytime you see days mentioned, like times, and half a time, 3.5 years, Jesus said, I cut those days short. And the previous chapter said the Great Trib lasts 3.5 days, not 3.5 years. So did Jesus cut the days short from 3.5 years to 3.5 days? And the serpent cast out of his mouth the flood, and there is a flood that is also spoken of in other part. I think it's Daniel. I can't remember. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed the flood, and the dragon cast out of his mouth. And there's the remnant of her seed. And the remnant of the bloodline are the Jews that are spoken of in Romans 11:25. Romans 11:25, King James Version, Bible Gateway. I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. When the last non-bloodline sheep gets the call at the abomination of desolation, then the whole Jewish bloodline of sheep will awaken. They did not know Jesus. They were keeping the Torah. And it says specifically here, which keep the commandments of God, which could just be sheep. But could it be specific to the bloodline of the Jews, because it says the remnant of her seed? See, the non-bloodline gets called, and then the blindness is lifted. That blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. So when the last, and this all takes place at the abomination of desolation. All goats are handed over to a strong delusion. They will worship the image of the beast. All the sheep wake up. 99.999% of all sheep on this earth are lost. They're in every type of world religion you could imagine, including fake Christianity. And they'll just get the call. The earth will be supernatural at this point. They will just be indwelt with the understanding of the truth and of the Lord. And the bloodline gets awakened. And all goats worship the image of the beast. They're handed over to the strong delusion. And they're immediately inhabited by demonic entities that are using their body as an avatar. So it gets quite intense, of course. And that's why Jesus said, run when you see the abomination of desolation, because as soon as they're inhabited, now the demonic entities, see, the demons can't just come and mess with us. But humans can mess with humans. When they enter the humans, they can then start killing sheep. Very interesting. So anyway, any questions, just ask. Love you very much.